Hello, good afternoon, as it happened, because it's just past 12 now. I think some of you might know me already because I can see some names here which are some of our undergrad students. So I'm talking on behalf of Dr. Ahmed Zuba. He cannot make it today, so I'm introducing the course, the MSc course on Sustainable Electrical Power today. And if you have more questions on that one, of course, you can type them in the typing space, or later on, if you have more related questions, we might ask Dr. Ahmed Zuba afterwards to answer these questions. So to start with, as you know, and Brunel University is having a lot of students, about 12,500 students, and we have multidisciplinary students, and they are coming from different backgrounds and countries. So we are always having like 100 countries in the campus, students coming from different places, and of course they work and learn together in the campus in Brunel. Of course, we combine academic rigors with practical an entrepreneur and imaginative approach to meet the challenges of the future. So in this case, when you're going to learn or study the course, you're going to have lots of challenges and lots of practical work in order to go through the course and learn all the required knowledge for your future. Of course, the electronic and computer engineering is one of the largest disciplines in Brunel, and it has lots of students, and we have lots of contracts and research work with lots of industry and projects with different organizations. Brunel Smart Power Network is very well known, and it's an internationally leading course, and it's based on research, because we have one of the research teams in the department which is directly related to this course. And most of the work which we do here in the course is basically based on optimal design, operation, and modeling of power systems, as well as economics of electricity market. And this is what you're going to be experiencing in the course as you go through the materials as it happens when the course progresses. Now, of course, the course is 1 year as it happened for the master students, and this is full-time, 1 year. If you want to go into another mode, which is the part-time mode, the course will last for 2 years instead of 1 year. And unlike the normal courses which we run in the university, this course is run in a block mode. The block mode teaching, it's a special type of teaching which is basically happens by the week. So you don't attend lectures every day, so we attend lectures based on weeks. So for example, for a particular model, you attend that module within the week and then finish all the lectures and all the labs for that particular module, and you'll be done for that particular subject as it happened. This is of course happening during the week, so we teach from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and of course there will be coursework plus the labs and plus the individual works which you do during the work during the whole week. Sometimes, which you might have assessment that might happen at the end of the week or at the end of the assignment that you're doing, and this is the feature of the block teaching mode. So you do some work for a particular module or particular assignment, and by the end of that you will be doing either an assignment or a small test to finish that particular module. Of course, you have, as well as in addition to the lectures, you have private study time, which sometimes includes some assessment components. So, for example, if you start one of the modules, and we start at the beginning of the week, and you go through the week attending lectures, attending labs, and by the end of the week you finish the module. Sometimes you might have a small test for that one, just to emphasize the knowledge that you have got, or the test will be done, of course, as an exam at the end of the year. The lecturers are also, of course, available during the outside classroom hours. So if you have any queries or any questions that you need to ask, you can always come to the lecturer room and ask him any questions that you need. The block teaching mode, it's, as I have mentioned to you, it's running by a week. So sometimes you have a week of teaching, and the next week is for assignment. Depending on what you're doing, sometimes the assignment takes a week or 2 weeks, and that one basically is more like a self-study week. So you do the whole week doing the assignment, doing the research, and then writing the report for the assignment. And by the end of the week, you finish the assignment and then it's submitted. And then the week after will be again going to another module and doing the teaching again and doing the labs. So this is particularly useful for those who are working in industry and then they want to have some time off from the work to attend the lectures. And this is one of the features that we have in this course, which not many universities do provide this type of courses. And it's very useful for those who are attending work as well as attending the course in the meantime. Now, during the course, you will have lots of workshops, practical workshops, and field trips, and industry talks as well. So what we have here is people coming from different industries, like the power generation industry, the power distribution industry, and then we'll come and give you talks. And these are real experienced people who know about this topic very well, and they have practical experience, which they will come and talk to you about what they do every day for their job, and that will give you a good knowledge and understanding of the type of jobs that they are doing in industry, and then it will prepare you for the jobs afterwards. Some of the work which the student will do after finishing the teaching session, which is basically the project, and that will be industry-based projects. So the students will go to the industry, like the power generation or the power distribution places, and then he will do a project with them. So they will have a particular problem that they want to solve, and the student will work with them to solve that particular problem. Of course, by the end of the project period, the student will write a report and will submit it. And the supervision of the project will be done as well by members of staff from the department here. So you have two supervisors as it happened, one which is internal and the other one which is from the industry. And that will be very good in terms of supporting the academia and supporting the practical work that you're doing in the industry. Of course, we have lots of experiments that you're going to do during the work. So we have labs, which are basically the SEP lab, which is equipped with very modern electrical power systems. And there are lots of modules that are that have included practical work. So after finishing the lectures, you do the practical work in the labs. Typical modules which we have here, and as you know, this is a master's course, so each module will be based on 15 credits, and then of course you have to accumulate 100 credits at the end. One of them is the Sustainable Power Workshop, Electrical Power Workshop, which is based on 15 credits. There is the Sustainable Power Generation, again that's another 15 credits. The Energy Economics and Power Markets, and these type of modules, mostly they are supported by people from the industry. So in the lectures you will have invited people come from outside to talk to you about the economics and the power market. Power systems analysis and security, again that's another module. And then of course you do a project on control and management, which involves some practical work. There is power system operational management, again that's another module. There is power electronics and facts, again that's a 15 credit module, which is, I think it's taught by Dr. Darwish. Power system stability and control, again this is another module that looks at the power system stability, stability of the voltage and the supply, and of course to control it using the conventional control technique. And of course, we're looking at the stability and then the controllability of the system. As you have noticed here at the last line is the project and dissertation, which is based on 60 credits rather than 15 credits. And as you can see, this is a significant portion compared to the other modules, because each module consists of 15 credits, while this one consists of 60 credits, which is more significant. And then, of course, that will run during the summertime, which is about nearly duration of 4 to 5 months. And the project will basically be based on doing research and then writing a report and submitting the report at the end. And as I have mentioned before, it could be either in the department here based on either simulation or practical work, or it could be associated with one of the industries like the power generation or distribution centers. Now, the course is accredited by 2 institutions, and one of them is the IET. And this is a very good accreditation, which is most of the industry, they are looking for courses that are accredited by these type of institutions. In addition to that one, the course is accredited by the Energy Institute. And again, this is a good accreditation that has been provided or given to the course based on the materials and the work that the students are doing. And so these are the 2 accreditations which are very important for getting jobs afterwards, as it happened, because most of the people from industry, they are looking for accredited courses. In terms of the computing facilities, we have high performance computing capability with grid computing, with the clusters of consisting like 20 computer with dual processors and dual gigabyte Ethernet interfaces. During the course, we'll be dealing with different types of modules or different types of software. I think most of you are familiar with MATLAB or Simulink, ORCAD, PSpice, PSCAD, DigSilent, IPSA, ETAP, and PowerWorld. All of these are softwares that are being provided by the course, which you have to get familiar with them and use them in terms of doing your lab work or doing the assignments. Of course, we have the facilities, which are very modern facilities compared to other universities, which are leading in the electrical power systems. So the labs and the computing facilities are very modern and very useful in terms of doing the coursework. And of course, we have additional computing resources which the university offered to the students in terms of computing, printing, and then access to the internet. In this slide, you can see some of the facilities which we have. So in the top left corner, there is an image of the lab which we have, and you can see that the lab is modern and it's well equipped with different types of testing equipment and experimental equipment. So you can see there are motors, generators, and power system measurements and control and transformers and so forth. So most of the time that the student will be working on this lab in order to do their experimental work on the power systems. On the right-hand side, you can see a wind turbine which is installed on the top of the one of the buildings in Brunel, and that's basically a real generator that generates power and feed data to data logging systems. And the student will have access to this data in order to look at the power that is being generated depending on the wind speed and the weather conditions that runs every day in the university here. Now, the master's course, of course, we are aiming at developing graduates which are capable of leading teams to operate, design, analyze, secure, stable control systems, and regulate and manage the sustainable electrical power systems, and of course the network of the future. And this is one of the most important key features in this course, because as you know, nowadays people are looking for renewable energy systems, manage the power system, and then of course reduce the emission from the power generation facilities. You will be as well looking at global, best globally available power analysis software and tools. And most of our graduates which have graduated from this course, they have worked for different organizations like the National Grid, the UK Power Network, Network Rail, Central Networks, ABB, which is a company for designing and developing power systems, GE Power Conversion, which is known as Convert Team Limited, formally. And lastly, the SKM company, which is, again, it's one of the companies that are leading in the renewable energy systems in the UK. Now, this will conclude the talk, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Of course, you need to type them, and we'll read out the question and try to answer it.
Thank you, Mason, and thank you everyone for joining us. As Dr. Abode just said, could you, if you do have any questions, could you type them in the questions box on the right of your screen? Thank you. So we have a question from Emily. Thank you, Emily. Emily would like to know if there are exams each term.
Okay, this is a very good question. The university runs on term time, so we have 2 terms. First term starts in October, finishes in December, and the second term starts in January, finishes in March. And then, of course, the exams will be one session of exams, which happens usually in May. So you'll do all of your studies in term 1 and term 2, and then by the end of the year, which happens in May, there will be a period of examinations, which the student will set the exams period. And after they finish the exams period, of course, they're going to start their project work. As I have mentioned before, you might have some assessment during the course. So you might have a certain test, maybe, for a particular module, which you have to do, or you might have to submit a certain assignment. These are like coursework, but not exams as it happens. So the exams usually happens at the end of the year in May. And of course, there is a reset period as well, which usually happens in August or September, depending on the time of the year.
And another question, when is the dissertation completed?
Okay, right. So after finishing the exams, which is usually happens in May, the students will start working on their dissertation, and of course they will start in late May or early June, and they run through the whole summer. And the deadline for submitting the dissertation, it will be like mid of September, and that's basically the full dissertation, which is complete, written, and then checked and submitted, which includes all the results and the work that has been done during the dissertation work.
And we have another question. Thank you, Janeth. Are there any past papers for exams?
Yes, the past papers, we have a system which is Blackboard, and all the past papers are provided on that system. We usually supply them like based on the past 3 years, but during the lectures, some of the lecturers might go and use also or look at also old exam papers. So the exams paper will be available. Sometimes the answers to the exams is not available due to the reason of we don't encourage the students to just read the answers. We encourage them to do the work and then check it afterwards with the particular lecturer.
Falguni, thank you for your question. Do you run this course in part-time mode?
Yes, I have mentioned that at the start. Yes, we do run the course at part-time mode. And the way we run the course for part-time students is that they do part of the modules in the term. And once they finish, they will start working on their project, not on full-time, but because they are based on part-time, so they will start their project in the first year on part-time. And then once they finish the first year, when they come back, they're going to do the rest of the modules which they haven't covered yet in the second year. And again, of course, once they finish the teaching part, they will start carrying on with their project work until they finish the project and submit it by mid-September. So it runs on 2 years, and then you do half of the modules in year 1 and half of the modules in year 2. And of course, the project you can run it during the 2 years as well, in order to have more time to do other things that you are doing.
And a question from Mohammed. Could you give some examples of an industry-based dissertation?
Yes, okay. We have the national grid, which is not located far away from Brunel. It's near Reading. And we usually have 2 or 3 projects that are basically assigned by people from the industry which are working on the national grid. It's the distribution center for power distribution center. And they usually look at control of power systems and how they dispatch power. As you know, nowadays we have DC links as well as AC links, and this is one of the important features that the people from the National Grid they are looking at. They want the system to be stable all the time. So despite whether the power is coming from the DC link or the AC link, they want the system to be stabilized and doesn't have any fluctuations in terms of the power. So in this case, they do provide these type of projects depending on the requirement, and this will be done in conjunction with the people from the industry, of course.
Thank you. And we have another question. Thank you, Falguni. Are there any further opportunities for PhD in this area?
Yes, for PhD students, most of the students who finishes the course, and we have 2 or 3 now with working with Dr. Zuba on power systems. They have finished this course, the MSc course, and they have joined the university to do projects or research on power systems. So one of them is working on the DG, which is the distributed generation dispatch and allocation. The other one is working on optimizing the power system in the UK. So the opportunities for doing research on power systems after this course is a lot, and we have already students, they have started their PhD, and I think we have 2 or 3 graduated already. So most of the students who are interested in doing PhDs, they will carry on after this course into a PhD program afterwards.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Any more questions, please type them in the questions box on the right of your screen. We have a question from Amy. How many students typically on the course?
Okay, the course runs for full-time students about 8, and we have 6 to 7 students part-time. So we usually have a cohort of like 12 to 14 or 16 students attending lectures. As you know, the part-time students will attend half of the lectures, so depending on the lecture, sometimes you have 12 or 16 students, depending on what type of lectures and what they are doing in terms of they are selecting the module for year 1 or year 2. So the cohort is reasonable size, and this is good in terms of doing the lectures and attending the workshops and the labs, because you have better attention or better care from the lecturers, especially if the student number is not big. You have more attention from the lecturers.
Thank you. We have another question. Thank you, Eugenis. Do lecturers expect more in terms of maturity from students as compared to the B-Eng?
Okay, most of our students who have finished B-Eng, they joined this course. So I believe that students who have graduated with a B-Eng, they are mature enough to enter this course. So I don't think somebody who has done an M-Eng and have joined this course, because it's more like getting 2 degrees, and both of them are a master's level. So what we have here is people coming from industry who are joining our course, and they have done a B-Eng before and joined the industry, and then when they have the opportunity to do an MSc, they will come and join this course. Or people have done the B-Eng and then directly join this course afterwards, which are, I would expect them to be mature enough to join the course and understand the materials that we are providing here.
And another question, is the software available all the time to the students?
Yes. Yes, we have labs which are located in different places in the university. The picture which I have shown you on the slides, it's the SEP lab, which is dedicated to the MSc course here. And of course, we have sometimes the undergraduate students attending that lab as well. So the software which are needed for this particular lab, it's always there. This lab is restricted in terms of attending the lab, so it's only open during the working hours, 9 to 5. However, I have mentioned other softwares like MATLAB, ETAB, Dixilent, and so forth. These are available on the university network, and the students will have access to these softwares in a different lab, and that lab is open 24/7. So whenever you need to go and attend that lab, you can just swipe your card and attend the lab, providing that the lab is not booked for another session, and do the work as it happens. So you can access the software anytime you like.
Thank you. Thank you. We have some more questions. Thank you, Janeth. What is a grid cluster computer network?
The grid cluster computer network, it's a combination of computers that they are sitting together and they communicating to each other. It's dedicated towards sending big simulation jobs to this cluster of computing. Usually what happens if you have a very sophisticated and complicated job that takes hours and hours to run, instead of using that on a single PC, what you can do is to send that job to the cluster of computers there, which they will run in parallel, and then they will execute the job much faster, because these computers are only dedicated towards doing batch jobs. So you then send them the job, they will do the job for you, and then they'll send you back the results on your terminal that you are using. So that's the main idea behind it, which is fast computing and dedicated towards large jobs. Yeah, well, that's what I think. That's another question, which is what we can do with that one. As I have mentioned before, the idea is to simulate large systems or complicated systems on the cluster computing. Sometimes you have simulations of large power networks, which takes a very long time to do the simulation on a normal PC. So instead of running that on a normal PC, you send it to the cluster computing, which will run in parallel. They have very high-speed processors, they have large memory, and they are only dedicated towards for these jobs. So it will be executed much faster, and the results will get back to you in a very short time.
Thank you. Again, any more questions, please type them in the right box on the right of your screen. Thank you. Another question. So will we use grid cluster computer network for industry-based project for most of the time, or for research-based dissertation?
The industry-based projects, most of them, depending on what type of project that you're doing, if it was industry-based, which is basically solving a problem that the industry have, you should be going to visit the industry and work in collaboration with them. For the research-based one, usually it's done in the university here, so it will be provided by one of the lecturers in the university, and it will be basically based on using one of the simulation packages here. For example, if you want to simulate a power network, you can use Dixilent or the ETAB. And if you want to optimize it, you can use one of the optimization tools that are available in the university. And that's the type of the research-based dissertation, which is for university-based. While for the industry, it's more to do with their problems which they have. So they might have a problem of maybe stabilizing the power network for a DC link, and they are looking for a different type of controllers they want to design for this type of DC link. And the problem here is that the student will be developing controllers for the industry, and they're going to test them on the site there where they are based.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Thank you. We do have another question. Do MSc students have Freshers Week?
Oh yes, yes, of course. As you know, the university runs week 0, which is a week before the start of actual teaching. And in that week, we do welcome the MSc students because they are coming from different places. And in that particular week, the students will be introduced to the lecturers. They will be introduced to the place in terms of the labs, the teaching lecture centers, and then, of course, the facilities in the university. In addition to that one, I think there will be a welcome party as well, which is happening during that week. And for that particular week, of course, it's only familiarization with the network, with the university, with the lecturers, with the staff, and with the facilities available in the university. So yes, there is a week which is for freshers.
And a question here, do MSc students live on campus?
Yes, okay, that's a good question. The university does provide accommodation to students, and we have, it's a campus type university, so all the accommodations are within the university campus. And the university happily provide accommodations to all the students, and we have ample amount of rooms or accommodation available, which the students prefer to stay in because it's easier for them to go to the university, not to commute, and of course they will use the university facilities whenever they like. And of course the university provides a Wi-Fi service to all the students, so they will have access to the university network either by their computers or their phones, and this is extended to the accommodation blocks as well. So you will be always connected to the university network, and sometimes you don't need to use your allowance as it happened on your phone because of the availability of the Wi-Fi.
And postgraduate students are accommodated in a specific area away from undergraduate students who tend to be noisier.
Yeah, that's a good feature. So I think one of the questions before, do you expect maturity? Yes, so we are expecting the students to be mature, so that's why we put them in a separate place to get on with their study and then not to be distracted with the noise. Usually I think most of the undergraduates are happy with doing parties and making noise.
So that was quite a lot of questions there. Do we have any more before we close the webinar? No, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Dr. Abode, and we wish everyone a good weekend.
Thank you very much for attending. I may emphasize again, if you have any questions, either you can email Dr. Zuba, or if you happen to be in the university, you can ask any of the staff here, and you will be most welcome with the questions, and then hopefully we'll see you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes.